see what the next one. Oh, transitioning to jets. Let's try that. Let's see if we can do one of these.
Yeah, who needs to fly a hang glider?
Exactly. That's what I did. I didn't buy the game for that. Loading.
While it's loading, the screen went away and I just see you again.
Yeah. So while it's loading, it seems to do that.
Oh, you look tired, you're yawning.
This flight is just a quick 35-mile repositioning from Edinburgh to Glasgow without any passengers on board. A good opportunity to get you checked out on the Bombardier CRJ 700. While we're waiting in line for takeoff, I'll explain a few things. Flying a modern jet isn't really all that different from flying a small prop plane. There are just a handful of key differences. The first thing you'll notice is how different the instrument panel looks. Instead of many small, round mechanical instruments, there are just a few large computer screens. Most of the information is the same, but the presentation is different.
World Travel 221,
Good luck
short
with this
runway
one.
6 right, traffic is a 747 and final.
Holding short, 6 right, World Travel 221.
That call was for another aircraft. We're Orbit 526. I'll handle the radios during this flight, so don't worry if you miss anything. I'll tell you what to do. The display on the left is the primary flight display, or PFD. It combines multiple instruments into one display. The blue and brown section in the middle of the PFD is an attitude indicator. The vertical tape on the left side shows airspeed, and the tape on the right side shows altitude. At the bottom in the middle is a horizontal situation indicator, which shows heading, and to the right of that is a vertical speed indicator. Glass displays like these take some time to get used to, but once you get the hang of it, you'll love them. The display to the right of the PFD is the navigation display, which shows a top-down view of the aircraft's position relative to navigational aids and the flight planned route. You can change how the map looks by using the format and range knobs on the left side of the panel. Try it now if you want to. Okay, the third display is the Engine Indication and Crew Alerting System, or ICAS. The default page shows engine information, gear and flap positions, fuel quantity, and warning and caution messages. You can scroll through the different ICAS screens by clicking the up and down buttons at the bottom of the display. Each screen provides information about a different aircraft system. For this flight, keep the engine gauges showing on the ICAS. The top gauges are labeled N1. As we fly, I'll give you suggested thrust settings. Use your joystick throttle lever or the F2 and F3 keys to move the N1 needles to the settings I suggest. The rows of buttons and knobs just below the windshield is the mode control panel for the autopilot. We won't be using the autopilot on this flight, so don't worry about any of that for now. A big difference between jets and piston aircraft is that in a jet, the engines take a while to spool up. This means that if you add or reduce thrust, there will be a slight delay before your action has any effect. This fact, combined with the jet's higher speed, means that you need to plan ahead.
World Travel 221, taxi into position and hold.
Position and hold, World Travel 221.
Jets have flaps just like piston aircraft. They're used during takeoff and landing to increase both lift and drag. Lower the flaps to 20 degrees for takeoff now by pressing the F7 key 3 times. You can see the flap indicator on the ICAS.
Orbit 526, hold short, runway 6 right.
We'll hold short 6 right, orbit 526. Okay, follow the 737 ahead of us, but hold short of the runway. Release the brakes by pressing the period key and apply some thrust to get us going.
You ready for
Stop
this
here.
now?
One last thing. During the takeoff roll, I'll call out 4 speeds. When I call 80 knots, glance at your airspeed tape to
Ben,
verify it's
are you
moving and
watching,
indicating
the
approximately
Twitch
the
feed?
same speed as mine.
No.
When I call V1, it means we're at
That's
the speed
fine.
where we're committed to taking
Check.
off, because there isn't enough runway to
She's
stop
about
at
to
that
take
point. When I say rotate, gently pull back on the stick and rotate the nose into the air. Finally, I'll call V2 when we reach the minimum safety speed at which we can safely climb on just one engine if there's a failure.
World Travel 221, winds calm, takeoff.
World Travel 221, rolling.
Orbit
Oh,
526,
it's open.
taxi into position and hold.
Position and hold, orbit 526.
What the heck?
Okay, we're cleared to taxi onto the runway, but not to take off yet. Taxi ahead and turn right onto the runway. Stop once you're on the runway and lined up with the center line.
It's okay, he's just getting in line for the runway. He hasn't taken off yet.
Press Shift 5 to display the overhead panel and turn on the landing light by clicking the switch in the lower left corner. Then press Shift 5 again to close the overhead. Before we take off, let's review exactly what will happen. You'll control the aircraft, I'll handle the radios.
Yep.
I'll call out 80
Okay,
knots, V1, rotate, and V2. When I say rotate, gently pull back on the stick
quite
to raise the
delayed.
nose to 15 degrees nose up on the primary flight display. I'll tell you to retract the landing gear once we're climbing. Once we reach 1,000 feet above the runway, I'll tell you to pitch down to 10 degrees nose up and to raise the flaps so we can accelerate. Our initial climb will be to our cruise altitude of 6,000 feet, and the departure controller will probably tell us to make a left turn to the west. I'll let you know when to turn.
Orbit 526, winds are calm, runway 6 right, clear for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, orbit 526. All right, we're cleared to go. When you're ready, use the throttle lever on your joystick or press the F3 key to add thrust. Start with 50% N1. Let the engine stabilize and then increase thrust to 100%.
Here we go.
80 knots.
This is in Welland.
No.
V1, rotate. Slowly pitch up to 15 degrees. V2. Positive rate, gear up. Raise the landing gear by pressing the G key.
Orbit 526, contact departure.
Okay, move the stick to adjust pitch to 10 degrees nose up on the primary flight display, and raise the flaps. Reduce thrust to about 80% N1 to keep our speed below 250 knots. Climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Orbit 526, switching. Edinburgh departure, Orbit 526 with you, climbing to 6,000.
Orbit 526, roger. Orbit 526, turn left, heading 270.
Left to 270, Orbit 526. Okay, it's time for the turn. Make a nice easy left turn until our heading is 270 degrees. That's due west. Let's run through the after takeoff checklist. Landing gear, up. Flaps, up. Thrust set to 80% N1 for the climb. After takeoff checklist complete. Level off at 6,000 feet and reduce thrust to about 60% N1. That should give us about 250 knots. We'll stay low on this short flight, so don't exceed 250 knots and keep the landing lights on. This is standard practice below 10,000 feet.
Orbit 526, resume own navigation.
Resume own navigation, Orbit 526. All right, we've been told to resume our own navigation. This means the controller will no longer be giving us vectors, and we should follow our filed flight plan. Our flight plan route takes us to a point that will line us up for an approach to Glasgow's runway 23, which is currently the active runway. You can use the mission compass to navigate to that point, or you can follow our flight plan on the map page of the navigation display. The pink line on the screen is the path we should be following. You're over-controlling. Use less pressure on the stick. Display. We're too far east. Fly west to take us to Glasgow.
Following the purple, it said.
Pink. Aren't those...
Suppose I have to go west more, but I thought I was supposed to be following that purple or pink line.
We're below our assigned altitude. Climb to 6,000 feet. It's a nice day for sightseeing, but we shouldn't burn too much of the company's fuel. Take us south to get us back on track.
I thought he said to follow the purple.
It is purple.
Yeah, but he's telling me that I'm doing the wrong, going in the wrong direction, so I guess I'm supposed to follow the green?
Yeah. Yeah, heading west.
He'll tell you. Dropping in altitude. This is mark setting than the glider.
Yeah.
How'd you find the new controls?
They're actually quite good. I just need to get the push to talk on the throttle.
I want to see you land this puppy.
I know. I think I'm headed in the right direction now.
Grab a beer. Captain, would you like one?
I would love one.
I'll get one for you.
Are you at Brad's house? Or your own?
No, I'm not buying.
Monitors yet?
No, not yet. Brad picked me up the joystick over
Sweet.
You gotten any further instructions?
How's it going, Brad? Or Stu?
No, I haven't had any further instructions yet. So that means I must be doing something right.
Matt's flying a plane on flight sim. It's on Twitch.
Sometimes he's lying, he's playing Microsoft.
What's that compass on the top left of the screen?
Oh, that's just a regular compass. South, east,
Oh, okay.
west.
There's a different yellow arrow on it.
Yeah, it used to be green before.
Oh, really? Am I supposed to be heading in that direction or following the middle console one?
That's a good question.
Hit the help button.
There should be anyone see where the autopilot is?
You're not supposed to use it.
That's flying to Iceland.
Yeah. He did say to fly west, though.
Orbit 526. Contact Glasgow approach on 119.1.
Orbit 526 switching. Thanks. Glasgow approach. Orbit 526 with you.
Orbit 526, Glasgow approach. Good morning. Reduce speed to 210 knots. Expect vectors for the visual approach. Runway 23 at Glasgow. Glasgow altimeter 29902.
Slowing to 210 and we'll expect the visual for runway 23. Orbit 526. Bring the thrust back to about 50% N1, then adjust it to maintain 210 knots. Since the weather's good, the controller will line us up with the runway and give us clearance to proceed to the airport visually once we have the runway in sight.
Oh, if you look to the left, you should see the green arrows.
Orbit 526, descend and maintain 3000.
Descend and maintain 3,000, orbit 526. Okay, we've got clearance to descend to 3,000 feet. Reduce thrust to idle and gently push forward on the stick to take us down. Pitch to about 7 degrees nose down to maintain 210 knots as we descend.
Where is this thrust?
Left-hand side of the brown and blue display, the left window.
What's 50% and what's like idle? I don't understand.
Okay, level off here at 3,000 feet and bring the thrust back up to about 50% N1 to maintain 210 knots.
This has got to be hard.
Yeah, it's not fun. Since I don't know what I'm doing, it will get fun.
Too low. Terrain. terrain.
Yeah, but
Too low, terrain.
He's telling me to go to 3,000.
Too low, terrain.
You're at 1,000 feet. See the green?
Oh, that's it.
That's your actual.
And what's the thing on the right-hand side? It goes up
Sea
there.
level. I think it's your altitude at sea level.
You could have flown right into the ground if you didn't.
Yeah. Now, was I supposed to turn or just continue on?
Say. The yellow arrow is moving more to the left, though.
I know.
Don't exceed 250 knots below 10,000 feet.
Oh no, the green went away.
I think I've screwed this up. Because he actually didn't say to turn or anything.
No, I didn't hear it.
Okay, so anyone know where my actual height is?
Nope.
I'd say you're about 5,900 feet above sea level.
Yeah, above sea level. Like when I saw that green arrow, was I not supposed to go there? He actually didn't say though. He didn't say to turn.
I'll make a left turn.
I thought I was supposed to be following this green arrow.
compass, top left compass. Watch out for them mountains. Nice turn. Ooh.
See, there's the green arrows again in the distance.
Yep. Your buddy should be speaking to you over the radio and helping you.
Good thing. We'll head to the green. Okay, so approach is 3,000 feet. Let's get that loaded to 3,000.
Oh, and the nautical miles counter is counting down below that same compass in the top left.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Orbit 526, reduce speed to 180 knots.
Slowing to 180, orbit 526. Okay, now reduce thrust a bit to slow to 180 knots. Pull back on the stick a bit to keep the nose from dropping. Maintain 3,000 feet as you slow down.
This is gonna be rough.
Oh yeah. Because for some reason I have the throttle off and it's not slowing down yet.
There's gonna be a delayed reaction.
Can you go below? Off or no?
No.
Orbit 526, turn
Hey,
left
slow
heading
down.
230, vectors for the visual approach runway 23, report the runway in sight.
Press F7 twice to lower the flaps to 8 degrees. The flaps will slow us down, so bring the thrust back up to about 60% N1, so we maintain 180 knots. Left to 230, looking for the runway, orbit 526. Here we go. Turn left to 230 degrees. We should see the runway
rate.
straight ahead once we roll out.
Sink rate.
Don't sink.
Okay,
Don't
I
sink.
see the runway.
Don't
Approach
sink.
orbit 526 has the runway in sight. You're over-controlling. Use less pressure on the stick.
Orbit 526, cleared visual approach runway 23.
Cleared for the visual, orbit 526. Reduce thrust to idle and begin descending towards the runway. Lower the landing gear by pressing G and lower full flaps as we slow down. Press F7 3 times. In a large aircraft like this, the speed you land at changes depending on how heavy you are. At our current weight, our final approach speed will be 130 knots. Adjust thrust to maintain 130 knots as we descend toward the runway.
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
Never mind, there it is.
What the hell's that don't sink?
Don't crash.
Orbit 526, contact tower
Coming in hot.
on
You hit like
118.8.
240, so 180.
Switching to tower now, orbit
You
526.
hit F7
Thanks.
first, hit the flaps.
Glasgow Tower, orbit 526 with you on the visual approach for runway 23.
Orbit 526, Glasgow Tower, you're number 1,
Well, it's
cleared to
back
land,
same
runway
height, it's
23,
not yet.
wind calm.
Cleared to land, orbit 526. We're cleared to land, so let's run through the before landing checklist. It's a short one. Landing gear, down. Flaps, set to 45 degrees. Landing checklist complete. Continue descending. Once we're about 50 feet over the runway, reduce thrust to idle and pull back on the stick slightly to touch down on the main wheels first. Then slowly lower the nose.
Sink rate. Sink rate. Sink rate. Sink rate. Pull up. Sink rate. Sink rate. Sink rate. Sink rate. Sink rate.
You're over-controlling. Use less pressure on the stick. You're over-controlling. Use less pressure on the stick.
He's gonna stick it regardless.
Nice landing.
Orbit 526, turn left next taxiway and contact ground on 121.7.
Ground on 121.7, orbit 526. Turn left on the next taxiway. Once you're clear of the runway, stop, retract the flaps, and turn off the landing lights.
Full brakes. Good job.
We got her.
Glasgow ground, orbit 526, clear of 23.
Orbit 526, taxi to the gate. Follow the 737 on the taxiway all the way to the rock.
We'll follow the 37, orbit 526. Okay, just follow that 737 on the taxiway. He's going to the same ramp, just a different gate.
You did better than the glider.
Yeah. Surprising.
What kind of a plane is this?
I don't know, something like a 747 or close to it, a Boeing something. 737 maybe?
I can't remember. But you had no passengers, that was the key.
Here's your stop. Oh no, you gotta follow him.
Make a right turn into this area. Our gate is the last one on the right side. There's our gate at the end. Pull up to the jetway and stop.
Whoops.
Yo.
Oh, on your far right, yeah.
Stop here. Excellent job.
Aren't they supposed to tow you in there?
Yeah. Passenger's gotta jump off.
Yo. Oh my god.
Yay. Good job. Are you sweating bullets?
A little tense.